On November 15, 1315, along the narrow shore of Lake Egeri in the Swiss Alps, an army of Habsburg nobility advances through morning mist. They ride beneath the banners of Duke Leopold I of Austria, one of the most powerful rulers in the Holy Roman Empire. Knights in plate armor, mounted lancers, professional soldiers trained since childhood. Over 3,000 men, cavalry heavy, moving with the confidence of an empire that has never known defeat in these mountains. The path narrows. Mountains rise on one side, the lake presses close on the other. The column compresses, horse pressed against horse, but they continue forward. They expect submission, they expect fear. Then the mountains explode. Boulders the size of wagons slam into the column. Men vanish beneath rolling stone. Horses scream and collapse, and from the heights above, 2,000 Swiss militiamen, farmers, herders, men with halberds and axes, descend like a human avalanche. This was Morgarten, but to understand Morgarten, you must first understand one simple question. Who decides what freedom means? Not freedom as an abstract ideal, but freedom as a practical reality. The right to govern your own valleys, judge your own disputes, and refuse the authority of distant rulers who have never walked your mountain passes. The Swiss Confederacy in 1315 is not yet a nation. It is an alliance born of necessity. 3 forest cantons, Uri, Schwyz, and Unterwalden, occupy the central Alpine valleys south of Zurich. These are mountain communities, isolated by geography, connected by narrow passes that freeze solid in winter. The people here are not serfs bound to noble estates. They are free peasants who own their land, herd cattle on high pastures, and govern themselves through communal assemblies. For generations, they have maintained a practical independence, paying nominal tribute to distant emperors who rarely interfere with their internal affairs. But the opening of the St. Gotthard Pass changes everything. This new route through the Alps becomes the fastest connection between Germany and Italy, between the Holy Roman Empire and the wealth of Mediterranean trade. And the pass runs directly through the territory of the forest cantons. What was once isolated and irrelevant becomes strategically vital. Control of the St. Gotthard means control of commerce, taxation, and military movement across the entire Alpine spine. The House of Habsburg understands this immediately. Based in Austria, the Habsburgs are the rising power of the region, ambitious, expanding, accumulating territory through marriage, purchase, and conquest. Duke Leopold I, brother of the Holy Roman Emperor, looks at the forest cantons and sees an anomaly that offends his vision of proper order. These valleys should be integrated into Habsburg domains. Their people should acknowledge Habsburg authority. Their independence is an inconvenience to be corrected. The forest cantons see something entirely different. They see their freedom, not granted by any lord, but inherited from their ancestors, written into their traditions, proven by their self-governance. They believe their alliance, formalized in 1291, makes them answerable only to the Holy Roman Emperor himself, not to regional nobles like the Habsburgs. The Habsburgs believe sovereignty flows downward from imperial authority through noble bloodlines. The Swiss believe sovereignty rises upward from the land itself, from the communities who work it and defend it. These positions cannot coexist. The conflict escalates through small aggressions. Habsburg officials attempt to assert jurisdiction. Swiss communities resist. Skirmishes break out. In 1314, a disputed imperial election divides the Holy Roman Empire itself, and the forest cantons support the losing candidate. The Habsburgs, backing the winner, now have both motive and justification. In the autumn of 1315, Duke Leopold decides the time for negotiation has ended. He will march into the forest cantons with overwhelming force, crush their resistance, and impose Habsburg rule permanently. He He assembles an army from across his territories, knights, men-at-arms, crossbowmen, and prepares to demonstrate what happens when peasants forget their place. Duke Leopold marshals his forces near Zug, north of the forest cantons. His army represents feudal military power at its peak. Heavily armored cavalry capable of shattering infantry formations, supported by professional soldiers accustomed to siege warfare and open battle. He plans a direct march southward through the Morgarten Pass toward Schwyz, the heart of the Confederation. He expects this to be a punitive expedition, not a war, a show of force that will break Swiss morale before serious fighting begins. He does not expect a battle. He expects submission when the Swiss see what rides against them. On the other side of the mountains, the Swiss leadership faces the arithmetic of disaster. They cannot match Habsburg numbers. They cannot match Habsburg equipment. In open terrain, armored cavalry would annihilate peasant infantry in minutes. The conventional response, meeting the enemy in the field with pike formations and discipline, would be heroic suicide. But the Swiss know something Duke Leopold has not considered. They know their mountains, not as obstacles to overcome, but as weapons to deploy. Every pass, every cliff face, every narrow shore where the lake presses close to the mountain. They know these places with the intimacy of men who have walked them since childhood. They know where an army can move and where it becomes a compressed target. They know that armor becomes a death trap when men cannot maneuver. They know that horses panic when footing disappears. The decision forms in the war councils of Schwyz. Do not fight the battle Leopold expects. Fight the battle the mountains allow, and that quiet decision leads directly to Morgarten. On the morning of November 15th, Duke Leopold's army enters the pass at Morgarten. The route follows the eastern shore of Lake Ageri, a narrow corridor where the mountain drops steeply on the right and the dark water presses close on the left. The path is wide enough for the column to advance, but not wide enough for proper formations. Knights ride in compressed files. Infantry marches in irregular clusters. Supply wagons creak and lumber at the rear. The sound is the sound of confident power. Armor plates clinking against horse harnesses, lance shafts knocking together, thousands of boots striking stone in rhythm. Banners snap in the cold mountain wind. Officers call orders. The army moves as it has moved through a dozen campaigns, with the casual efficiency of overwhelming force. The terrain is difficult, but terrain is always difficult in mountains. They see the steep slopes above as inconvenience, not danger. The narrowness of the path slows their advance, but there is no enemy ahead to exploit the delay. Leopold rides near the center of the column, surrounded by his household knights. From his perspective, the campaign is proceeding exactly as planned. By nightfall, they will be through the pass. By the next day, they will be at the gates of Schwyz. The Swiss will understand that resistance is pointless. The column stretches for nearly a mile, compressed between mountain and water. Moving steadily southward into the narrowest section of the pass, the Swiss have spent days studying this ground. They know that the pass narrows to a choke point where the mountain steepens, and the lake curves closest to the path. At that point, an advancing army cannot deploy sideways, cannot form battle lines, cannot retreat quickly. The column becomes a single vulnerable mass, pressed together by geography. Their plan is precise and layered. At the highest points of the slope, several hundred men prepare massive boulders, stones loosened from the mountainside, wedged into position, held by wooden supports that can be kicked free at a signal. Below them, positioned on the steep incline but above the path, more than 1,000 militiamen wait with halberds, war hammers, axes, and pikes. Further along the narrow shore, at the exit from the choke point, several hundred more Swiss block the forward path with a thin shield wall, not to hold against cavalry, but to force the column to stop, to compress, to become stationary. The defenders are not professional soldiers. They are men who farm in summer and train for war in winter. But they understand their role with absolute clarity. Strike from above when the enemy cannot maneuver. Target horses to create chaos. Use terrain to turn numerical disadvantage into tactical superiority. The signal system is simple. When the Habsburg vanguard reaches the blocking force and the main column is fully committed to the narrow path, horns will sound from the heights. That sound triggers everything. Above them, the defenders wait. They know that once the boulders fall, the pass becomes a killing corridor with no escape. The Habsburg vanguard encounters the Swiss shield wall at the southern end of the choke point. The knights at the front see perhaps 300 men blocking their path. A token force, easily swept aside by a cavalry charge. Officers call for formation, but there is no room to form properly. The path allows perhaps 10 horses abreast, pressed shoulder to shoulder. The lake prevents flanking to the left. The mountain prevents flanking to the right. Behind the vanguard, the column continues to compress. Riders stop and wait. Infantry clusters together. The Swiss blocking force does not flee. They brace their shields and stand firm. From the Habsburg perspective, this looks like desperation. Poorly equipped peasants making a final stand before being trampled. From the heights above, Swiss observers watch the entire column compress into position. They see knights growing impatient. They see infantry pushing forward. They see the density increase until there is no space between formations. Only then does the attack begin. The horns sound from the mountain. The first boulders drop. Stones weighing hundreds of pounds roll and bounce down the steep slope, accelerating with each impact, smashing into the compressed column with the force of siege weapons. A boulder strikes 3 horses simultaneously, shattering legs and throwing riders. Another crushes through infantry, leaving a gap that instantly fills with panicked movement. Men look up and see the mountainside coming down on them. Then the Swiss descend. The militiamen come down the slope at a run, using the momentum of the incline to drive their weapons through armor, through horse flesh, through anything in their path. They do not fight in formation. They swarm, each man targeting whatever is closest, but prioritizing horses, always horses, because an unhorsed knight in heavy armor on broken ground becomes a victim, not a combatant. Halberds, long pole arms with axe blades and spear points, prove devastatingly effective. A halberd strike from above can hook a rider from his saddle or drive through a horse's shoulder, bringing down both mount and man. The Habsburg column attempts to respond, but cannot execute basic tactical maneuvers. Knights try to turn toward the threat, but there is no room to turn. They attempt to charge up slope, but horses cannot gain footing on the steep incline. They try to form defensive lines, but the path is too narrow and men are packed too tightly. Every problem creates another problem. A horse collapses, blocking movement. Men try to step around it and are struck from above. Another horse rears in panic, throwing its rider into the men behind. Infantry attempts to climb the slope to engage the attackers, but the Swiss simply retreat upward, loose more boulders, and attack again when the soldiers slip on loose stone. The sound becomes overwhelming. Screams of wounded men and dying horses, the crack of breaking lances, the clang of weapons on armor, the deep boom of boulders striking the earth. Orders are shouted but cannot be heard over the chaos. Officers blow horns that produce only one more layer of noise. From the Swiss perspective, the battle is a controlled execution of a plan. They do not need to destroy the entire Habsburg army, only create enough chaos that discipline collapses. Men in the middle of the column cannot see what is happening at the front. They only see comrades stumbling backward, hear the sounds of slaughter, watch boulders appear from nowhere to crush formations. Panic spreads like fire through dry timber. Knights at the rear, still untouched by fighting, see the front collapse and make the rational decision to preserve themselves. They turn their horses and ride back the way they came, abandoning the column to save their own lives. This creates a reverse pressure, men at the back pushing away while men at the front have nowhere to go. Some Habsburg soldiers break toward the lake, preferring to risk drowning over being crushed. They wade into the frigid water in full armor. Many do not surface. Others struggle back to shore only to be struck down by pursuing Swiss. Duke Leopold, in the center of the disintegrating column, realizes this is not a battle that can be salvaged through courage or discipline. This is catastrophe unfolding in real time. The entire strategic position has inverted. What was meant to be an overwhelming assault has become a desperate attempt at survival. He orders retreat, not tactical withdrawal, retreat. Full, immediate, abandon the wounded and flee. What remains of the column turns and runs, those who can. Knights on intact horses gallop back through the pass. Infantry throws down weapons and sprints. The Swiss do not need to pursue everyone. Gravity and panic do the killing for them. Men stumble over bodies, trip on broken equipment, fall from the path into the lake. The entire battle lasts perhaps 30 minutes. By midday, the pass at Morgarten is silent. The Habsburg army has shattered and scattered. Hundreds lie dead, crushed under boulders, drowned in armor, killed by halberd strikes that found gaps in plate metal. Wounded men who cannot walk are left behind, moaning in the cold. Abandoned horses stand confused among the wreckage. Weapons, armor pieces, torn banners, supply wagons, all left behind in the scramble to escape. Duke Leopold flees northward with perhaps half his army. There is no organized formation, no rear guard, no attempt to rally and counterattack. Survival is the only objective now. The Swiss do not pursue beyond the pass. They remain on the heights, collecting weapons and armor from the dead, tending their own wounded. Losses that are remarkably light given the scale of the Habsburg defeat. Their objective has been achieved. They did not need to conquer Habsburg territory or destroy every enemy soldier. They needed to prove that their mountains could not be taken by force. The pass returns to silence, broken only by the sound of the lake lapping against the shore and the wind moving through the valley. What was supposed to be a triumphal march has become a graveyard of Habsburg ambition. The defenders descend to the path and begin the grim work of clearing bodies and salvaging equipment. There is no celebration, no triumphant shouting. These are men who understand they have won a battle, not a war. The Habsburgs will be back, but not today, not soon, and not with the same assumption of easy victory. News of Morgarten spreads across Europe with the speed of disbelief. A peasant militia has annihilated an army of armored knights. The social order that places mounted nobility at the apex of military power has been challenged by farmers using terrain and tactics. This is not supposed to be possible in the feudal world of the 14th century. For the Habsburgs, the defeat is both military and political. Duke Leopold's reputation suffers irreparable damage. The campaign to subjugate the forest cantons is abandoned indefinitely. More importantly, the defeat demonstrates vulnerability. Other Habsburg territories see that the family's expansion is not inevitable, that their armies can be beaten by determined resistance. For the Swiss Confederacy, Morgarten transforms their alliance from a defensive pact into a proven military force. The battle does not immediately create Swiss independence. That process will take more than a century, but it establishes the precedent that Habsburg authority can be resisted. The three forest cantons are joined by additional territories inspired by the victory, gradually building the Confederation into a recognized power. The tactical lessons reverberate through European military thinking. Morgarten demonstrates that terrain can overcome numerical and technological advantages, that infantry properly employed can defeat cavalry, and that ambush tactics allow smaller forces to dictate the terms of engagement. These principles will be proven again at battles like Sempach and Grandson, reinforcing Switzerland's reputation for military innovation. But perhaps most significantly, Morgarten establishes the psychological foundation of Swiss identity. The idea that common men, fighting for their homes and freedoms, can defeat empires becomes embedded in the cultural consciousness. It creates a narrative of self-determination that will influence Swiss politics, diplomacy, and military organization for centuries. Within 2 weeks of the battle, the Forest Cantons renew their alliance in the Pact of Brunnen, reaffirming their mutual defense commitment. This is not just a military treaty, it is a declaration that their independence is non-negotiable, proven in blood at Morgarten. The battlefield itself becomes a site of remembrance, marked by a chapel built to commemorate those who fought there. For generations, Swiss soldiers will swear oaths at Morgarten, connecting their service to the legacy of those 2,000 militiamen who turned a mountain pass into a killing ground. Today, the pass at Morgarten is peaceful. The lake reflects the mountains. The slope where boulders fell is covered in forest. Tourists walk the path where Habsburg knights died in confusion and terror. But Morgarten is remembered not for the violence of that November morning, but for what it proves: that geographic knowledge can overcome material superiority, that preparation and positioning can defeat raw power, and that people defending their homes fight with advantages no amount of armor can counter. The Swiss did not win because they were better warriors than Habsburg knights. They won because they understood the battlefield and designed a battle that played to their strengths while negating their enemies' advantages. Morgarten challenges the assumption that power always flows from the center to the periphery, from the strong to the weak. It demonstrates that marginal communities, when united by common purpose and equipped with strategic intelligence, can resist forces that appear overwhelming. The lesson is not that small groups always defeat large armies. Most do not. The lesson is that tactical creativity, terrain exploitation, and psychological warfare can create moments where the impossible becomes achievable. Morgarten is not the story of peasants defeating knights. It is the story of intelligence defeating assumptions, of preparation defeating confidence, of defenders who understood that the ground itself could be their most powerful weapon. And that is why it still matters.